All right, here we are. It is Friday, and we are doing another Financial Friday wrap up with my good friend Michael Zuber. How are you, Michael?
I'm doing great, Ty. Thank you for doing this. I look forward to this discussion every week.
I do too. It's always interesting because there's so much going on. It feels like we're in such a time of uncertainty, and it's just really good to be, the way that you study the markets, the news, trends, real data. So I really appreciate all that you do. Let's get right into it. So CPI, what's going on with CPI this week?
Yeah, so one of the things I love doing on my channel is on Sunday, I talk about the week ahead. And the week ahead this week was talking about Wednesday's releases, CPI being the most important number. And it came in at 5.4%. People will talk about core inflation being something like 4.2 or 4.3. But what people don't realize is when they talk about CPI core, they actually remove food and they remove gas, right? Which is stuff, I need to eat and I need gas for my cars, which is, I always thought that was funny that they removed those. But in the end, CPI was at 5.4%, clearly above the Fed's target of 2%. 5.4 was the same percent as June. So that's 2 months in a row. Now you have a trend. And I believe the month before was like 4.2. So we have a trend of, significantly higher consumer-based inflation, which, it's having an impact. It's going to impact people's wages. And when you think about CPI, it's really unfortunate because I think what will happen in a year from now is people's wages will go up, which is great, right? People make more money is awesome. But unfortunately, what we're seeing now with companies is they're having to raise prices. So I think what's going to really happen is we're going to have negative real wage growth, which is not a fun thing to say, because that just means wages go up, but the cost of consumption goes up even higher. So if you got to raise a 5%, but it costs 6% more to eat and feed and rent your place, it's really called negative wage growth. So CPI is a problem. I think the Fed's got to pay attention, but they're not. They're like this, like, I don't see it. It's not there. I don't see it. So yeah, CPI was hot this month.
Yeah, and for the audience, these obviously are not your everyday things that people are talking about, but it is important that you really that we start to get to understand these. I think I want to pull it together, but let's talk about PPI. What is PPI, and what was the news this week on PPI?
Yeah, so PPI is reported the day after, so it came out on Thursday this week. CPI is what you and I pay at the cash register. You can think of it that way. PPI is producer price index. You could think of that as the wholesalers, right? The people at the front of the chain, right? Consumers are back here, PPI is up here. And what the problem is if it goes up here at PPI, it usually ripples through to CPI. It's kind of a leading indicator. So PPI was hot as well. PPI was actually hotter than expected this week. I think it was 4.7%, highest since like 1991. So what that tells me, given that PPI is hot, is that you can expect CPI, again, lag, to talk about being hot for many months to come, unfortunately.
Interesting. And then what about, there was also a report on consumer sentiment.
This was the surprise metric of the week. Our consumer sentiment is something I follow because as an economist, you have to pick where you follow, right? Janet Yellen she follows unemployment, right? Jerome Powell follows the 10-year. I've always followed the consumer. I just didn't understand, right? Consumers are 68% of the economy. I'm in the real estate business. They are my competition, right? Because they're owner-occupied, they can get better loans, they can pay more than I can. So I've always followed the consumer. And what we just found today was the largest drop on record, which is shocking. And it's so big, you have to ask yourself why. Here's the deal. A month ago, think of it being July 4th. We're celebrating, vaccination rates. We're throwing away our masks. We're going out. Shoot, I went on vacation, right? Which I hadn't done in like 15 months, right? I was in Dana Point, right? We were all excited. We were getting out. And what has happened, unfortunately, over the last 4 weeks is, I don't know what else to tell you. The Delta variant has become a problem. Mask mandates are coming back. Vaccinations are being required by this and that employer. And oh, by the way, Southwest Airlines, Frontier Airlines have already talked about cancellations. I'm sure Walt Disney's going to have less patronage. We got San Francisco mandating vaccines for big events. Unfortunately, the consumer is scared. right? The consumer, compare July 4th weekend where we were all excited and celebrating with, Friday the 13th of August. And unfortunately, the consumer is not as excited or happy as they were a month ago. And it's not only the US, it's around the world, right? China is shutting down again. Australia has a lockdown in Sydney. It's, we're not done with this thing yet, unfortunately.
Yeah, very interesting. Very interesting, which again, it's odd because it feels like we're going backwards.
Yeah, it does.
It is an interesting time. So speaking of going backwards, let's talk about the CDC. I know there was a recent ruling about the eviction moratorium. Bring us up to date.
20 minutes ago, maybe 25 minutes ago, there was a ruling by a DC district judge who, oh, by the way, 6 weeks ago, ruled that the CDC eviction moratorium was invalid or not valid. And basically that got appealed and it went on to the Supreme Court. Well, she just ruled again today. And on last time the landlords won, this time the tenants won, or more specifically, the Biden administration won. And I want people to realize before they just start getting all angry, this judge was appointed by Trump, right? So it's a conservative judge. Let's also remember that the Supreme Court is supposedly 6-3 or 5-4. They also ruled that this was okay. So a lot of folks are going to scream lefts and rights and all of this. Let's just remember who's voted or who's ruling here. And the judge came out and said, no, it can stay. She basically said her hands are tied based on other rulings. So without question, this will be appealed. No matter what her ruling was, this was going to be appealed. This is going back to the Supreme Court. The only question now is, because the Supreme Court is on recess until October 4th or 5th, I believe, early October, is will they see the need and urgency to rule in an emergency fashion, which they have done and can do, but there's no requirement. They don't have to rule. So there's at least a decent chance that this thing is going to go on till October 3rd, which I don't think makes a lot of landlords happy.
Yeah. It's also interesting to see that, as we get into the fall and transitioning from fall to winter season, what's the next move? Do we go into even a more extended moratorium? And what's possible, right?
It's cold outside. You can't kick people out. I mean, I can hear it already. It's interesting.
Very, very interesting. So that actually brings us to our last point, which is, again, I talked to you pre-roll. There's such a sizzle for the headline of a real estate bubble. And I just want you to clarify your thoughts, your interpretation of what's going on in the data and with inventory. Are we in a bubble? Is this a bubble, or are we in a slowdown?
Yeah, so what I'm going to do, unlike other channels who use the word bubble and crash, is I'm going to define it first. So I consider a bubble or a crash something greater than 20%. And I consider that being done in a year or less. So there is no chance in hell we are in a bubble or we'll have a crash in the next 12 months. Real estate doesn't move that quick. I did 50 years of research, and our biggest drop in 50 years was 8.9%. Right? We did have 5 years of negative growth, but that's not a bubble, right? Bubbles are sudden. It's the .com stocks going in half overnight. It's Citigroup going from 31 to 3 in a week. That's a bubble, right? Bubbles pop and they're gone. Yep. Real estate doesn't move that quickly. That said, we are in a housing slowdown. I got some numbers just today for July, and here we are. So the average days on market, historically speaking, for the United States is about 40 days, right? Rough and tough, nationwide. Don't come at me with your city. It is nationwide data. What we had in June, days on market were 15, all the way down to 15. That's crazy fast. That is not healthy. That is not normal. Well, lo and behold, 30 days later, Ty, we are now at 17.
Interesting.
So again, you could look at that going, oh, that's 2 days. Well, if you look at it on a percentage basis, that's more than 10%. We are clearly in a housing slowdown. Demand has disappeared. I don't know about your brokerage, but I talked with the top 1% agent in Arizona. She had 15 buyers active 4th of July weekend. She now has 2. The other 13 did not buy. They either gave up, went on vacation, or became renters instead of owners because they can't find anything. That's a housing slowdown. Demand is disappearing. At the same time, more supply is coming. That's a housing slowdown, right? It's not a crash. We don't have the raw setup for a nationwide housing crash. Could we have a couple of regional bubbles? Absolutely, but no national crash.
Yeah, I would agree with you. And what we're seeing, and it's something you and I have talked about for the last 6-9 months, specifically, is that we're seeing where inventory that's tip-top condition, that's renovated, clean, turnkey, those are still getting multiple offers. They're still getting a lot of attention. They're still not as crazy necessarily on price bounce and overbid, but even in some cases, overbids, sometimes crazy. But I think it's really the mediocre inventory. And this is something you and I talked about, where it's the stuff that's maybe a little outdated, very average, maybe even slightly below average. They're not getting those premium prices like they were in March or April. Would you agree?
Yeah, I call them but properties, right? Yeah, I have perfect but and junk, right? There was a time where they all sold for retail. That is gone. Junk is getting a discount. It's going cash. Nobody can get a loan. It's the buts that are slowing down and will have price drops. Yeah, but the kitchen's not updated. Yeah, but it's too close to a busy street. Yeah, but. That stuff is sitting and is not getting retail price anymore.
Yep, I would agree. And so I want to I know that we didn't frame this for pre-roll, but anticipation. And here's what I want to do is I want to interpret the data and put my 2 cents in here based on what we're talking about with CPI, PPI, consumer sentiment, the CDC, the bubble versus a slowdown. To me, as an investor, what I see is that we can probably anticipate that interest rates are probably going to stay low at least over the next 90 days.
Oh, they'll be low the whole year.
The whole year. Okay. So we can anticipate low interest rates, right? And that to continue. Okay. The other thing that I would anticipate too is that because you have all of these things where we were coming in from the dark to the light, things were improving. All of a sudden now it feels like we're stepping back. It feels as though we're probably going to see a lot of uncertainty. So that means for the investor, for the one rental at a time student, for somebody who's out there actively looking to acquire properties, there's probably going to be good opportunities over the next 3 to 6 months. And probably because of all the uncertainty, probably the opportunity for deals. Would you agree with that, Mike?
Oh, I think the next 4 months are going to be the best time in the last 3 years to get a deal done. And it's because of everything we just talked about. Think about the consumer sentiment we just talked about. The consumer is going to retreat. I just told you about 15 buyers to 2. They're retreating. They're nervous. They're scared. They're doing other things. Consumers are my competitor. They can pay more. They have cheaper debt. They have smaller down payments. Oh, by the way, as an investor, what am I looking at? I'm looking at a hold for the next 10 years, 20 years. I want the cheapest debt I can. I want to be able to get a deal, meaning a discount. I'm not chasing prices anymore. And oh, by the way, the other thing we're talking about is rent inflation. I had a video yesterday with 2 guys that own lots of units, and rents are exploding higher, especially in single family homes. It's kind of the best of both worlds. It's Warren Buffett's quote. The next 4 months, it's certainly the next 45 days is going to be Warren Buffett. I'm going to be greedy when others are fearful. Buyers are going to retreat. That means sellers are going to be desperate. They're going to be like, oh my God, I don't have any offers. What do I do? Yell at your agent, blah, blah, blah. If you're doing the work every day, like we talk about, focus, buy box, daily discipline, you're going to be amazed by the deals that you see coming.
I love it. I love it. So as always, Michael, thank you for all that you share with the community. I just want to put my screen up here.
Oh, look at you.
Yeah, I want to screen share and just let people know, because I know I always show the book, but I want to just say that there's a lot of great resources here on the onerentalatatime.com, the website. You can obviously buy the book there. You can buy it on Amazon as well. I think too that just in terms of people having an opportunity to connect with you on YouTube, as well as that obviously your course. How much are you charging for your course now?
So I have a free course there. I have a $99 Get Your Money Right course, and I have a $299, which is what I'm best known for, how to get started one rental at a time.
Got it. And that's here on this homepage?
Yep, it's down. It goes
There's the
free,
beginner course.
99, advanced down below. There
Yep.
it is. That's
I
the
love
one
it.
I'm known for. Yep.
I love it. So there's the advanced course, $299, the 99, understand getting your money right, and then the free beginner course. So
Yep.
what I would encourage everybody here, get involved with Michael. Whether you're following him on YouTube, you probably see this video on YouTube or on social media, but I just want to encourage everybody to get involved with Michael at some level. If you are investing in education, do yourself a favor, buy his course. His stuff is the best of the best. It's practical. You can get out there. It's not just theory, but it's really like, here's how you build a portfolio. So Michael, thank you for all that you do. Have a great weekend. Thank you for your time today.
All right. Thanks, buddy. That was really nice of you. Thanks again.